something went wrong on my phone.
Yo, I think we're ready to rock and roll on that front though. But welcome everybody. Today we're doing something a little bit different, a little bit special. We got Derek here who's going to give a little bit of a breakdown. If you're able to can the audio on that because it feeds back through here, that'd be amazing. But we're going to be talking about sports in general. If you're able to. And we are going to go over some of the situations around Candy Digital with the Futureverse situation, which I'm still kind of completely lost on entirely, to be honest. I think a lot of people are trying to navigate what exactly is going on that front. So we'll touch a little bit on that and in general. But Derek, give me a little bit of a backstory, because you told me that you are actually involved with the marketplace yourself. Now, it's not Candy Digital, but I'm trying to piece together all the background of Derek here.
Yeah. So I'm a marketplace founder. So, my sort of background and how I got into this is that, and it is, I am a little like ADHD and probably slightly somewhere on the spectrum. So not being able to see you is bothering me, but I can see you and I can't see you on my X, but that's totally fine. We'll work through it. So I'm a marketplace founder. I'm an entrepreneur. I kind of have a long history of entrepreneurship, but what's specifically applicable to this is that when I was a kid, I loved trading cards. So like I was a trading card addict. And then as an adult, I'm a marketplace founder. So just to like answer, well, what's a marketplace? Well, like Candy's a marketplace, Panini's a marketplace, Dapper Top Shot's a marketplace, OpenSea's a marketplace. And the deal with marketplaces, the big ones are like Amazon's a marketplace, Uber, where you have a rider and a driver, Airbnb, where you have hosts and guests. And the really important thing to know about them is that every user adds not incremental, but actually exponential value. So every rider does increase incremental value for drivers. It's exponential. Every host doesn't increase incremental value for the guests. It's exponential. Marketplaces tend to be monopolies, and they tend to suck everything into it over time. So my background is like love trading cards as a kid, but as an adult, I'm a marketplace founder, and now I'm just kind of applying those things to what I'm seeing in this space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. But one of the things that I found fascinating with you is that you kind of jumped in, and I found you on X, and you were kind of like, holy crap, I didn't realize like the large collector community on here. So I guess from that perspective, because I think a lot of us have been like on the platform and been around for a little bit, can you talk, I guess, just from like your personal experience of like finding, hey, you know what, there's a huge social crowd out here that's like in love with the same stuff that I am?
I mean, when I reached out to you, like, I'm excited that it exists. I think that it's great. But to be honest, part of what really grew my conviction to go into this was realizing how minuscule especially on the sports collectible side, how minuscule the group is in comparison to the total addressable market, and the things that I think that are going to really make that grow. So like, I was delighted to get on X, and honestly, like I bought a bunch of Punkster because of you, or Punk Strategy. So that hasn't worked out for me yet, but I'm still really excited about it. Just as like an idea. So I saw you, I watched some of your videos, and then you start following one person, before you know it, you're following a lot of people, and now I'm a major whopping influencer with 250 followers. So
listen, you got some good fun videos though, which I think is really, really cool that you're out there and like putting content out. Because I think, to the point that there's not a lot of people, or sorry, the group size right now on the digital front, like for the total addressable market, like is very small compared to what it could. And I kind of make that same argument on the content side, is that, you'll scroll on the timeline and you'll say, okay, like it maybe feels like there's a lot of people doing it, but realistically, it's between 5 to 10 people, and in crowds of multiple thousands, that's kind of like a smaller number for it. So it is really cool that you're out there doing that. But one of the things that I know you wanted to talk about was the status economy, and something that I've said regarding NFTs as a whole for a while is, hey, you know what, this is an industry that if you're wanting to kind of like make a name for yourself or become famous in a way, theoretically all you need to do is just go out and sweep various collections, and you already have these clusters of people that are like, oh my god, this person is like a mega fan of something that I'm into, and they're supportive of it, and you kind of have this cluster of people that are kind of looking at others in kind of a hierarchy sense in a way. So curious from your perspective, when you look at the NFTs as a whole and when you compare them to sports and the amount of impact somebody can have from just going in and sweeping a collection, what's your take?
Yeah, so I think that this is like way, 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 way bigger than the current digital collectibles and NFT community think it is. And I'll tell you why, because I was just living in Miami. So, in Miami, I have female friends, and what happens is that every time that they meet a guy, the guy tries to tell them how much his watch is worth. And the thing is that his watch is pointless. You can tell the time on your phone. You do not need a watch to do that. But what they're doing is they're trying to send a status signal. And they're trying to say, I have status, I have an expensive watch. I want to let you know about that so that if you're interested in me, you know that I can take care of you. The female equivalent to that is like luxury bags, right? You can get a bag from Amazon for, 20 bucks. It's not an expensive thing. But they spend, 10,000, 50,000, $100,000 on bags. It's the same thing. It's the status economy. And what I think is that for better or worse, we are going to end up living in a world of a whole lot more haves and a whole lot more have-nots. And what I think is that the haves are going to be looking for ways to flash their status. Now, I was actually talking about this the other day, but the luxury bag industry, $70 billion, luxury watches, $50 billion. The current sports collectibles market is $40 billion. The digital sports collectibles market is about 1.5. And then the candy, which we'll get into, is like a teeny fraction of that. So what I think is really going to change all this is when people can flash their status in public. So we've got the metaverse. We're working on that. We certainly need better ways to display these things in our private homes. But the truth is, people don't have enough friends that they're inviting people over anymore. So that means the least in my view. But what means the most is when you can walk into a restaurant in Miami, in LA, in New York, and if you have glasses on or at the Heat game or whatever, and you can use those glasses to identify other people with collectibles and maybe even know like what they have, and then you can approach them and have a conversation. You can show on your watch, your luxury watch, like your digital collectibles and have a hologram. That's when I think you're going to start to see a whole lot of people that aren't even really interested in NFTs, like the art side. They're not even really interested in sports, but they're very interested in flashing their status. And I think that you're going to see like explosive growth when that starts to happen. So for me, that's the part that is like really exciting about this market really growing. I
That
can't
is
see your face, so I can't understand if you're liking this or not.
No,
But
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I think
okay.
that your comment about having like glasses and like if there's a world where technology you can kind of see, all right, this person's got that. Like that's just a mind blowing thought to begin with. But you're totally right in terms of like people being able to display what their collectibles are. Because in NBA Top Shot they had this like display case where it kind of flashed through a couple different moments and like, all right, that's like kind of cool to a point, but there's nothing really that like I don't know if it hits the same for any of it.
Well, and also that's private. What's a big deal is public, right? So my best friend in Miami, she has 3 million Instagram followers. And I talk about this. I talk to all these guys. Like you have like 23,000 followers, right? Some of the biggest spenders in these markets have like less than 5,000 followers, and they're driving the markets. So when the world changes and I can take my hologram watch to dinner with my friend and she puts her meal on Instagram to her 3 million followers, like she always does, but now instead also like my collectible is going to show up in it. That's when I think the culture is going to change, that people are suddenly going to be like, whoa, what's going on? Like, and then they're going to look that up and then it's going to get exposed not to thousands of people or 100,000s or maybe I think we've had 1 million buyers in the total of the digital sports collectible history. The entire market for like the last 6 years has had 1 million people. It's going to go out to 3 million people at once in just one small story. So like, I think that the public display is going to be critical. And all these guys that are, posting in Miami, their Lamborghinis and all that kind of stuff and their luxury watches, like those are the people that are going to come in and start buying up all these digital collectibles, and especially in a lot of sports. And, I've got massive respect for like CryptoPunks and all that, but I think that's going to be the big game changer.
So
And I don't know. Yeah.
Well, okay. During that point, part of me kind of flashes, and I feel like I bring this up in every discussion. And for anybody that watches a lot, like you'll know this, but there's like a stigma going around the NFT and crypto collectible side of things, where I feel like sports are extremely normalized, right? Like, and I'm not talking about the NFT side of sports, but just sports are something that's appreciated. There's nothing really ever negative about it per se, but we're at a point now where these digital collectibles, for whatever reason, is still like a massive trigger for people. So where do you kind of think like that stops happening? Do you think that ever stops happening?
Man, I think that what's important is scarcity and hype and the narrative and the story around it. And so, like, of my digital collectibles portfolio, I'm like 90 plus percent in candy. The remaining 5 to 10% is split between tops and panini. And so I really can't comment on the art side. Um, but I think that like the best things are going to be really valuable. And, whether I'm selling you an Andy Warhol or whether I'm selling you an Otani one of one, I think it's the story, the hype, the scarcity, and the narrative around that that's going to either make it worth zero or going to make it worth, $1 billion or whatever the richest person's willing to pay to try to pry that one of one from you. In sports, I actually think that I mean, we can talk about that, but I want to not comment. I want to not comment on, your side of it more with the crypto punks because I just don't know enough. And that's frankly why I bought Punk Strategy because I wanted exposure to it, recognizing that I didn't know enough.
Well, I think it comes back sort of to like your status aspect and like does that status prevail going forward in a world that ends up turning more and more digital? Because I think going back to originally when I got into NBA Top Shot, and I'm not nearly as involved as I once was, but it was something where it was a massive community and there was people that really wanted to showcase, hey, I have a portfolio worth this, or I have this really cool card, and there was that culture around it that felt like it kind of like died off a little bit. But one of the comments that you sent to me on discussions was talking about how there's not really like a one shop for all. You have the side of candy, you have the side of panini, you have Ethereum, you have like all of these different things, and it's like there's almost too much to try to get your feet wet.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, a big part of this is that I think that the one-stop shop is just going to be absolutely critical so that we can trade across brands and sports. There's multiple limitations around that. Top Shot says that they have it. Every time I talk about it, the guys reach out and they say, Top Shot says that they have it. Panini has it in their roadmap and it's supposed to happen in this quarter. But what is happening right now, in my view, is that there are marketplace dynamics that are really impacting price discovery. So if you have a really illiquid marketplace with very, very few buyers and very, very few sellers, like Candy has right now, you're going to be able to find massive, fantastic deals. If you have, it's actually interesting because Top Shot, I was looking last night, Top Shot actually has more buyers than Panini and more sellers than Panini, but the Panini buyers are spending a whole lot more money per sell. So their marketplace is by far the most liquid right now, and it's functioning insanely well. What I think is really interesting is that for me as a marketplace founder, I looked at the whole situation and I just said, look, if you had all the best properties in the world, and I think that for MLB, Candy far and away, I mean, Candy's the only license. Sorare has it more for fantasy, but Candy's the only MLB license option. And so I said, look, if you have the best properties in the world, but they're not allowed to be on Airbnb, well, a couple of things are going to happen. One, those properties are going to be wildly suppressed in their value. The second, though, is that for the properties that are on Airbnb, like people still want to travel, they still want to do this. So all those properties are going to be worth a whole lot more, and there's going to be a frenzy. But the big thing here comes down to, well, what do you think is going to happen? Is all this just going to stay? Is Panini going to stay siloed? Well, they say they're going to have self-custody. Is Dapper going to stay siloed? Well, they say they already have self-custody. What's going to happen in the future when all these make it to the same marketplace? And my personal opinion and my personal thesis is that if their assets survive, which is an important thing to talk about because the whole company's in receivership, and that's really important. And it's really playing itself out in the comps, which I'm even more excited to talk about. But if those assets survive, I think there's going to be a massive repricing and everything's going to be on the same. And you're going to suddenly be able to compare a Otani one of one to a LeBron rookie to a Mahomes from Panini, and everything's going to get rebalanced. So that's some of the marketplace dynamics that are at play. The other thing is that, when you look at the total statistics, is it okay if I keep talking for a
Oh
sec? I
yeah, yeah,
can't see your
absolutely. Keep
face.
going, keep going. You're good. You're
Okay.
good.
I can't see your face. So I like to think that I have some emotional intelligence and I like to read how it's coming across. So, you know what? There's 20 something million, I think 24 million millionaire households in the United States. And a big reason I went into Otani is that Japan has the second largest collectibles in the market in the world behind the US. But just in the US, there's 24 million, and Panini has, soccer, so people, this is international. That's going to be exciting in that one-stop shop where you can trade across brands and sports with anyone, anywhere, anytime in the world. That's going to be like gangbusters. It's going to be insanely fun, and you're going to have massive price discovery. Like, I think all assets would probably increase 5 or 10x just because of that alone. But back to the millionaires. 24 million in the country. About 30 to 40% of US households are in sports collectibles in some way. So that brings us to 6 million total millionaires in just the United States that are involved in sports collectibles. Well, look, we've had 1 million total buyers. And last month, I think we had like maybe 10,000 total buyers across Top Shot, Panini, and Candy. And some of those are overlapping because people like to buy on multiple platforms. So we've got 6 million millionaires. We've got 10,000. I mean, we are at like a fraction of a percent of the total millionaire buyers that could enter into this market. So what that means is a couple things. Well, one is like, as this becomes physical, as people move into it, another huge thing about sports collectibles is that you have real scarcity. Like, there are 18,000 Aaron Judge rookie cards, and nobody really knows how many rookie cards there are of him. But for digital, you know exactly how many. There's 400-ish, plus or minus. We can go add them up because they all have the numbers on them. So we've got a huge, huge market of people that are millionaires that are into sports collectibles. And as these things grow, as people start to flash their status, whether it's in the metaverse or whether at a nice restaurant in Miami, if I see another guy with his headset on and I know he has Otani stuff or I know he has LeBron stuff, I'm going to use it as a reason to go talk to him. Like, people are scared to talk to strangers, but if you have it and you can recognize who's in the collectibles market, you're just going to go up to him at a restaurant and, not completely mess up their dinner, but you're going to want to talk about it. But I think we have massive, massive growth potential of getting tons of more sports users into that market. And what's happening is that because we have so few of them right now, those few big spenders can really, 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 really drive a market, whether it's 10 guys or 100 guys or even a couple hundred or 1,000. But I think that it's very minuscule in terms of what it will be one day. And that's when things are going to start to really reprice and also really escalate in a really exciting way that's going to be good for everybody.
Well, there used to be a huge discussion kind of around like the utility of, okay, do you get like certain access to players? And one of the things in the early Top Shot days was there was a game called Hardcore that you were supposed to get and be able to play. And you mentioned So Rare a little bit earlier, and that's kind of on the fantasy side where that's having some kind of, utility to it. But from hearing you talk, it doesn't sound like you care about these utilities at all. You're just like, hey, these are provably scarce. I can see it. I can trade it easily. And it's more about that than any kind of extra perk.
I think every collector is going to be way different. And I think some of them are really going to value the experiences a lot. If I can get you dinner with Shohei Otani or Junior Caminero, which are like the two people I've really gone into, like, I think that's going to really, really drive prices. But to me, I think that the scarcity part is going to be way bigger. That's my 2 cents, and that's how I lean.
Oh, that's great. And for yourself, I know that you've gotten kind of a crazy collection starting to go, and you said that you were like 90% candy. So how did you end up finding about candy in the first place, if you remember? And then what have you, I know you mentioned Otani, and then I think I've seen you going through some of the Yamamoto moments, excuse me, as well.
Yeah, so I first, and maybe I'll just kind of also include with that and give you kind of my whole thesis at Candy and what I've been buying and why. Or is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. All right, cool. So I ended up at Candy because I knew about digital collectibles. I actually bought like a Patrick Mahomes of 50 at the top of the bubble for like 15K. And same thing, those are like completely illiquid. Nothing's happened with them. And the big reason is because there's not a big secondary sports marketplace. Like there's no discoverability. Nobody even knows about it. So I did that in like 2022. And then in 2023, I took a week-long vacation from my day job as a marketplace founder. And during that week, I was like, Acuna is killing it right now. He's going to have this like 40-70 record that he's going to be setting, and it's going to be like a huge moment in baseball history. I wonder if I could get a digital collectible. And so I just Googled and I found Candy. And then I went to the site and I was like, man, this place is freaking dead. Like nothing's going on here because like the bust had already started or it was already in full swing. But I ended up buying some Acuna stuff anyways. And I was pulling packs. And when I was pulling packs, I ended up with like 5 Junior Camaneros, including the number 1. So his first hit. Do you know Junior Caminero, Schiller?
No.
It's fine. Junior Caminero, in this past season, he plays for Tampa Bay. He had more home runs than any other player, than the youngest player in MLB history, other than one guy from like the 1950s who's now in the Hall of Fame. So he's like 21 years old in his 21-year-old season. He's from the Dominican Republic, and he hit 47 home runs. So I realized, I was like, man, this guy's actually really good. So I came back this year, and I was like, I just want to buy a bunch of Junior Caminero rookies. And I ended up in the last drop buying like 70 to 80% of them. But part of what I realized in the process, and then all of a sudden everyone's telling me like, hey, Candy's going, Candy's company is in bankrupt, or they're in receivership. Let's get it right. Panini's killing it. They're doing great. And you got all these guys talking about Top Shot. And I basically just realized like, okay, there's a couple things that can happen here. And candy collectors, like, they're MLB diehards and they know their stuff and they're not crypto bros. And I think that's actually really important because it's also probably led to some price suppression, because when Ethereum doubles, or, hopefully we get this bull run, like they're not kind of gunslinging wild Ethereum around. Like the candy guys are, you got to pay with cash there. And they're like very serious collectors. And it's like the nicest community of people that I've probably ever been involved in, including church. So they're probably better than church. So what I realized was that, look, Panini has baseball stuff up until 2022. And that baseball stuff is not licensed by the MLB. It's licensed by the Players Association. So like if you go look at Ohtani, you cannot actually see his jersey on him. He doesn't have an Angels jersey on him. And there's nothing after 2022 when he's playing for the Dodgers starting in 2024. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be flash statusing this with, a date at dinner in Miami, she's not going to know who Panini is. She's probably not going to know who Topps is. Same goes for my mother. She may not know who the Anaheim Angels are, but she's probably going to know the Dodgers. She's probably going to know what baseball is, and she's hopefully going to know Ohtani. And if I don't have the jersey on him, she's just going to ask, like, well, where's his jersey, right? So, like, I didn't want to have that question to explain with the baseball stuff. All the rest of Panini stuff, football, soccer, basketball, which is all fantastic, it's all fully licensed. But the baseball, in my mind, really left a gap. So I went after two things. I went after the rookies and the blue chips and the moments after 2022 that are only captured on Candy, because I think that that's going to create hyper scarcity. So Junior Caminero, let's say that next year he hits, let's say that prospects are wild. That was my lottery ticket, right? In addition to just Candy being a lottery ticket. But let's say that he hits a whole lot of home runs next year. People suddenly want him. Digital's getting more popular a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Well, like there's 400 rookie cards and I own like 250 to 300 of them. So there's going to be massive scarcity because nobody's even creating Junior Caminero other than Candy. Are you with me so far?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. And then the biggest moments in baseball history that have happened recently are like the Acuna 40-70 season. Well, I'll start sharing my screen a little bit. There's only 10 of these moments in baseball. And that was the first one that I bought. So I'll just show you the Ronald Acuna one. If I can find it in here easily. Yeah, so there's only 10 of these moments. So like in 2023, I came and I bought this, and I just thought it was really cool. I'm like, wow, like there's only 10 people in the world that can display this moment outside of the MLB. And like, I'm one of the owners, and I bought this for, $350 or so at the time. So this is a big one. And then after that, like the other huge stuff is Ohtani becoming a Dodger, his 50-50 season, which is last year. And then he wins the World Series, he wins the MVP, and there are 1,000 one of ones of Ohtani. Well, actually, nobody can even answer the question in the physical world. I'm like, how many one-on-one Ohtanis are there? And nobody really knows. They say between 500 and 1,000, probably closer to 1,000. And I know that Topps made like a one of one for every single base that he stole and every single home run. So there's like at least several hundred from his 2024 season. In the digital world, there are 3 from his 2024 season, and I bought 2 of them. So this one is actually from 2025, but it's his stats that are looking back on 2024. It's the only Lego one of one of him, and there's only 13 in the world on Candy. Panini has some, but again, they're all missing his jersey. So 54, 59. This is the only one in the world that's showing his stats. That's actually from 2025 because it's the season after. And then I'll show you the 2024 ones are both really special to me. And I have to take good care of them because they're actually collectors that they won awards. And as a result of winning those awards, they were able to pick any play that they wanted and create a one-on-one. So this is one of them. This is his last home run of the season that he hit against the Rockies. And so I own that one. There's another one that the Gimp has. Shout out to the Gimp and to the guys at Candy. He has delisted that one and he's holding on to it, but he sold me this one. And this one's actually pretty important because this is the only digital collectible in the world where his name is written in Japanese on it. Just to give a comp, like there's a physical one that just sold for over $1 million. That's a one of one that has his name on it. I bought this one for $3,000. You still there, Schiller?
Dude, I am just blown away with how like precise you are and like know the ins and outs of all of this. It's It's awesome to hear.
Well, here's the deal. There are 13 digital ones that are licensed by the MLB. 2 of them are still in packs, actually. So people have been getting a little nuts and they've been buying other ones. I currently have the only one that is from 2023 that's not in a pack. It would benefit me personally to leave them in packs and for Candy to, never release them. But yeah, there's 1,000 one of one, around 1,000. Nobody even knows. And that's the thing that all digital has way over physical, in my view, is scarcity. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more high pace. It's also a lot more precise around the scarcity. And I'm going to be quiet and stop rambling for a second, but we should talk about the comps. And the other thing that I didn't realize is that my Zoom only has another 10 minutes left, so it's going to die after that. But let's make sure we cover comps.
No, you're good. Yeah. We'll get into comps in like 2 seconds, and then that should be good on the time. Yo, Blades, good to see you. Thank you for popping on through. Peckham, what's up? KGM, anybody in now will have NFTs. This will become known as the low mint era. When NFTs go mainstream, you'll have plus 100,000 mints. Well, I think that was one of the problems with NBA Top Shot in the early days, is that the fact of just they ended up like printing way too many of them, and it doesn't seem like that's kind of an issue within Candy. But Derek, you're saying you wanted to talk about comps in a way, so feel free to let her rip.
Yeah, I think that Candy actually being like really unsuccessful at running their business has really helped.
That's phenomenal.
Well, it has because like, in 2022, they came out with like, and Top Shots learned the same lesson. In 2022, they came out with these massive mints and like, that's when the bust happened. So they've gone back to really low mint stuff. And as a result of that, there's 3 outcomes. And at Candy, people are terrified they're going to lose every single thing that they have. And that is a real possibility. The collectors, their feelings have been hurt, their finances have been hurt. And I, can't emphasize that enough. If that does not happen, the second thing that could happen is self-custody. It costs about 50 grand. This is ChatGPT cooking, so it could be wrong. 50 grand for them to hire an engineer and put it all on Ethereum. I think that 50 grand would be far less than the legal fees that they would rack up by not doing that. And then you've got like the embarrassment and reputational damage, not just the Candy, which is whatever it is, but like their board members. One of them was the CEO of Sotheby's. Another just did like an interview with like that Raul guy that's like always talking about Bitcoin. Like they have some big, they have things to lose. They have a reputation to lose. Then you've got like all the damage to the MLB of like all of their diehard collectors that would not collect again. And all that they have to do is just require the next company to migrate it in. And not only that, but like these are really important moments in baseball history. Like this is the 50-50 that I think could be one of the greatest digital collectibles of all time. There's only 99 of them total. And you can get one right now for like $600 still. Like the prices are still way low. So, second thing that can happen is self-custody. I don't really think any of the brands want to do that. They're doing it reluctantly, but the users are demanding it, which is good. The reason I don't think they want to do it is because they then lose the revenue from what's happening on the marketplaces that's currently suppressing the value. But when the tech gets there that they can put royalty contracts on it, I'll be the first person to be like, put a royalty contract on every single one of mine, let my people go, let my digital collectibles go. And then we're going to end up on that secondary marketplace where we can get real price discovery. And the other thing that's going to happen is that I think that all these sports, like they currently do not get secondary revenue from secondary sales in the physical world, but they will get them in the digital world. So if they're really about making money, like I think that sports, when they get those royalty contracts, will start pushing digital a lot more. All right, let's go. Oh yeah, the third thing that could happen is that Dapper could save our lives. Panini could. This is really valuable IP, and Dapper adding real baseball to their stuff would be fantastic. Panini adding the license MLB would be fantastic, and that would both create a path to self custody, which is huge because they already have them. They either have it or they have a path to it. And then the second thing is it would create immediate price rediscovery. You want to stop there? I have 6 minutes before this dies, and then otherwise I want to walk into the comps.
Yeah. No, I mean this is phenomenal. Here you go, and I know that you're nervous about like talking too much, but it's cool just to hear kind of your passion around that. And I think a lot of us, whenever we get into whatever it is within the crypto space, we love hearing people that are just passionate about something. And obviously, we're still waiting to see what the hell happens within the Root network. But you're right. I mean, in terms of discoverability, I feel obviously Dapper is probably one of the biggest crowds that if that were to happen, they could end up definitely doing a massive push on that front.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, should I walk you through the comps real fast?
Yeah, fire away.
I actually need my calculator because it gets so oh yeah, all right, it's over here. All right, so this is the 1 of 1 Otani that I bought. And I actually think it'll be good to show probably the top shot as well. And this is Crypto Slam, which I like to use a lot. How do we get over here? All right, so I bought that 1 of 1 Otani, and I am going to pull up the LeBron here. And I bought that for like $7,000, but I did 5,000 in cash, and I did some trading with I gave him a Paul Skeens Lego, which I miss, and an Acuna, which I miss. All right, so there's only 13 of these in the world. A big deal here is that like this was not made in his rookie year. The video is really cool because it is his first home run that he ever hit. And a lot of these videos, I don't even know that I've watched this, so we can watch it together. But if you're the owner, you get a bonus. And by the way, Candy's design is like top notch. They have really good designers. So the designer killed it. The assets are incredible. Just apparently they can't run the marketplace very well. So this is $5,000. The top sale for a the top sale. I'll just move over here and come back to that later. The top sale for a physical 1 of 1 of Otani is over $1 million. It's not his rookie. It's actually in his, he has his name in Japanese on it. But people have speculated that like the rookie, if it came out today, because there was a big run up with the playoffs, that it would go for up to 20 million, but maybe 4, let's just speculate. So I got this for $5,000, and let's just use like 4 million, and you can discount accordingly. That gives me not a 99% discount, but a 99.875 discount between this, which there's only 13 digital ones in the world, and the physical, which has 1,000 of different 1 of 1s. But to me, this is an incredibly insane discount. I kind of also, when I was going through this, what I did is I actually came over here and I looked at the LeBrons because, a Top Shot, it's actually funny. I made a whole video about this, and then someone watched the video, and then they went and bought the LeBron rookie that was listed for 15 grand. So after that, the LeBron rookie went up to 50 grand for the floor. But here's the deal. There's also 10 of them. Okay. So if we were to put kind of what it might be listed for now, just saying that there's 10 and the floor is 50 grand, well, then you could say maybe 500 grand. And there's multiple tiers of the Otanis too. So you got to kind of like play with this and discount it in your mind. But even then, I'm getting a 5,000 to 500K, a 99% discount between the Ohtani rookie and what the LeBron 101 theoretically could be worth. I mean, if you go over to Panini, like, I think that their biggest sale in the history of sales right now is Caitlin Clark. This is the biggest one for 175K. And here's the deal. Like, I was looking at the numbers last night. WNBA collectibles is like tens of millions to hundreds of millions. NBA is like 5 to 6 billion. The most expensive Caitlin Clark physical rookie is like 5 to 600K. The most expensive LeBron rookie is like somewhere between 5 million and 6 million. So like, I'm looking at these marketplaces and I'm like, okay, like, in the physical world, there's a 10x on the biggest LeBron sale versus, Caitlin Clark. In the digital world, because of how these marketplaces are functioning right now, even the 15K one that sold, before that happened, the Caitlin Clark was worth more than the LeBron. And now, when you look at that marketplace, if we give LeBron a 500K on this, it's only a 3x multiple on top. And then for me, I'm doing the math and I'm like applying my Ohtani rookie to the LeBrons and then to the physical Ohtanis. And I'm just like, look, no matter how bad this situation is with Candy, I have to be wrong. I have to be more confident than 0.01% that everything's going to die, that we're going to lose self-custody, all of that. If I am 5% right, that over time, digital will reprice the physical, which I think it will, and that digital, the Candy assets will in fact survive, which I'm hopeful, I don't know. If I'm 5% right, then 5% divided by 0.00125, that gives me a 40x return on my money. So I was like, I'm going to buy this. I have less than a minute left, and this thing's just going to cut us off. So
this has been awesome, by the way, Derek. I know I'm going to lose you, but this has truly been awesome to hear from you.
I can jump back on my phone or I can jump on X. I don't know how these things actually work, but like I can continue on, but the Zoom's going to die in probably 10 seconds.
I mean, I think we're good there. I mean, that was super insightful. I mean, I'm definitely down to have you back on again sometime soon, especially if the whole Candy situation ends up getting cleared up, good sir.
Hey, we got to change the name too.
Yes. That we got to do. I appreciate you. Have yourself a good day. We'll chat soon though, boss.
All right, Schiller. Thanks for having me, bro. Peace.
Yeah, of course. Peace. Yo, guys, what do we think about that? Oh my goodness. Not bad. Going out there, risking it for the biscuit. Candy is in such a weird spot right now. So to recap a little bit, for anybody that doesn't know, basically Candy Digital has had a multitude of different IPs that were associated with it. It's got like NASCAR, it's got WWE, it had Stranger Thing collectibles at a point, and it was like when you looked at them, there wasn't really a whole lot for these different IPs. But then when you looked at the Major League Baseball of Candy, it was like, wow, they have a ton of stuff. And now they got wrapped up in the Futureverse debacle, and Futureverse, for whatever reason, even though they had like 50 mil of funding that they got 2 years ago, they had like 3 to 4 different funds of multiple millions of dollars that produced essentially nothing. The main builder on the Root Network got like pennies when they were raising. It's just unreal. And so people that are in the Root Network don't know what's going on. People that are associated with Candy Digital kind of got roped into this thing, and they don't know what the hell's going on, but going out there and risking it for the biscuit. Respect for Derek, and it was really good chatting with him. And let me bring up his X if you guys are wanting to give him a follow. Obviously, if you're following on X at all or seen the tweet earlier, I posted about it then. But if you are wanting to follow him, Derek has energized the Candy community in a major way. It's been a blast getting him on board. Yo, I mean, it's honestly, there's very few people that I see on the timeline that I'm like, you know what, we should talk with that person because they got the energy, and that is absolutely the case. So if you're wanting to follow Derek, that's it right there. Derek C. Snook. But Derek, thank you for coming through. Peckham, KGM, Blade. Appreciate you guys. We did do a stream a little bit earlier, so if you're wanting to have some of the regularly scheduled X-Feed content, you can check that out. Or if you're joining late here on the stream, would love for you to rewatch this one. Or if you're wanting more content, we do the RWA SegMints Podcast, which is talking with different people around the globe of tokenizing different assets, because that is kind of how the world is going as we're going digital. But thank you guys so much for coming on through. I'll see you tomorrow as per usual. Enjoy your night. Peace.